You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box. You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box. You are now listening to the Hot Take Hot Box.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is the Hot Take Hot Box. We are back. Eagles are 1-0. The Phillies are inching ever so slightly to securing that first round bye. I guess that's what you can call it, right? I don't know how that works in the MLB. It would be a bye for me, so that we don't have to stress out or sweat out a 3-game series. Hopefully it looks like we're both. Your Dodgers, my Phillies, are going to be chilling and waiting. And I keep hearing from Braves fans how that's cost them so many different times and how it's a negative. We're going to find out, I guess, from firsthand knowledge, hopefully, that the Phils can go and secure that first round bye. Eagles coming back from Brazil, they got a W. Ty, my name is Matt McSweeney. Bad intro, but what are you going to do? My name is Matt McSweeney. I am joined by the Ty Capone. Ty, how are you feeling? Notre Dame loses against Northern Illinois. We're going to talk about that later on in the show. Yep. Ty saw live his LSU Tigers go down. It's just it's been a rough couple weeks.
Yeah. I forget who it was. I think it was my dad. He texted me right after. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry, but I hope you're having a good time." I'm like, "Well, I'm not. I am not."
It was your birthday too, wasn't it?
It was. It was my birthday that I had to celebrate inside Allegiant Stadium. First off, Allegiant Stadium has like the most perfect Wi-Fi in the world. It's just perfect connection. The field's nice. Stadium's it's all nice in there. Vegas, I'm not. It's not on the top of my list of places I want to go back to. I'll just say that I'm not a big baller, so it's not really a place for me necessarily. But it was whatever. It's just kind of the same. The Taco Bell Cantina was lit after the game. That was like the best part. But yeah, watching them lose, I think 3 years in a row under Brian Kelly, losing the opening game of the year. So there you go. Not ideal. And it's funny because as soon as I booked this entire trip, I was like, you know what? I'm going to go across this country on a terrible flight on Spirit.
Oh.
And yeah, never again, by the way.
Not that far, bro. It's like I took it to Myrtle or back from Myrtle one time, and it was like fine for that because it's like an hour, hour 30. But like any more than that, my ass would start to hurt.
Yeah, I was sweating. I'm like, yo, why am I hot on this? Like on American Airlines, I'm freezing.
Yeah,
I'm chilling. So that was fun. But overall, Notre Dame, I had a nice ticket on them.
Yeah.
Week 1 against A&M, and they pulled that out. And then the typical letdown game week 2 against Northern Illinois, who somehow is ranked now just because of that win. But yeah, college football's
disgusting.
Back. I'm less excited than I was for sure. Now that the Birds are here, Florida State's 0-2. That's kind of fun. But yeah, the Phillies are playing well. The Dodgers are not, as of the last week or two.
They melt down last night? Was that last night or the night before? Yeah. Oh man, I remember seeing that.
I was like, night. Yeah, Yamamoto came back, pitched great, and then they're like, you know what? How about we lose this game? And Pete Crow Armstrong for the Cubs is making. He looks like he's Ken Griffey, Jim Edmonds fused together with.
But he's making plays out there.
It's insane. But yeah, they're 5-5 in the last 10. Phillies are 8-2. And I think before this stretch, the Phillies weren't playing well, and we were. So now they just keep flip flopping. Who has the momentum going into October? We're in the beginning, middle-ish, almost of September. So this is about the time for teams to really get their shit together. And I think it's going to come down to the Phillies and Dodgers. I would not be surprised if somebody else just came out of nowhere because that happens all the time.
Diamondbacks are still a threat in my mind just because of what
the
happened
Padres.
Last year. Yeah, Padres could be that team this year.
I think they, you can't discount that. I think the Brewers have been holding steady pretty much all year in that third spot. The Brewers actually have a higher run differential than the Phillies and the Dodgers, funny enough. But we'll see what they got. I'm not too scared of them, but they are pretty solid. They're pretty well balanced throughout the lineup and the overall roster. The Mets are kind of coming out of nowhere here to try to make a little surprise run. They're 8-2 in their last 10. So I would not be surprised if one of these teams randomly came out of nowhere. You see like a Royals, Diamondbacks World Series. I don't think that's what it'll be, but
Yeah.
you truly never know with baseball playoffs.
Truly, and with that whole 3 wild card teams getting in, we've seen how the Phillies have had success, and other teams, Diamondbacks,
Yep.
plenty of teams have had success out of that slot. So it's not too far fetched to think that one of them could make a run. But and I'm going to have plenty of thoughts about Brian Kelly's fake outburst and all the different stuff that we have to discuss in college football on the latter half of this podcast. But first, we must get into the NFL Week 1, specifically the Philadelphia Eagles going down to Brazil, taking care of business, winning 34-29. So much to unpack, so much to talk about. Number one, though, the thing that stuck out to me was just not only the field. The field was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, the field was in horrible, horrific condition. And I don't know how the NFL just goes to show you they don't care at all. As long as money is getting just fed into their pockets, that's the only thing that really matters to them. They don't care about player safety. Anything along those lines is not really paramount in their minds. It's just basically the bottom line and that dollar amount. But other than that,
Sao Paulo, I think Sao Paulo, he said like, "Oh, the field looks great." The Packers have compared to Lambeau Field, and like Jordan Love as pretty much at the end of every single one of his drops, his right foot slipped.
Yes.
Every single one. Both teams struggle with it, but Jordan Love slipped almost every time. Bryce Huff was slipping and sliding. Yes. Honestly, one of the people that wasn't, or two of the people was AJ Brown and Saquon Barkley. They weren't really. They were. AJ Brown reached one of his highest speeds of his career on that field, so I guess it affected everybody differently, but almost everyone did get affected by it. And Avonte Maddox, he was really slipping and sliding all day, and no surprise there, but. What else was your
I would
major,
say
I guess, takeaway?
The number one takeaway for me was the poor decision making from Jalen Hurts. There were some throws there that were inexcusable. That's the only way you could basically say it. I think the defense really bailed them out early on in this game by keeping it somewhat close, forcing those field goals. Especially that one where the fumble where it bounced off his chest, which I don't really think that's his fault. It's Cam Jurgens' fault. It's crazy that he gets the blame for the fumble there on the stat line, which is wild. But, it just a snap gets thrown back into his chest, and it's like, all right, wow, like, okay. The throw across the middle early on in the game is horrible. That's like a Riley Leonard kind of throw. Shout out to Notre Dame. It's just a bad decision. No matter what throw you make there, it's not going to be a good play. It's not a good decision. It's just no good whatsoever. The interception later on in the game when A.J. Brown was kind of open, he slips a little bit. Still a bad decision, but a little bit more understandable. You can't throw or just turn the ball over down on their side of the field. You just can't do it. You're giving away points in a game that, obviously came down to a 5-point, where the Packers had a little run at it at the very end. You can't really... The NFL is so, like, razor-thin margins that you're playing on. You can't take the chance of giving up auto points and having something go bad like that. But what would be your number one takeaway if it's not Jalen Hurts?
I think it might be Jalen Hurts, or at least, the fact that I think maybe the potential of this offense. We still struggled. Our quarterback had 4 turnover-worthy plays, according to Pro Football Focus. 4. It led all quarterbacks this week. He also had the lowest grade of any quarterback this week, which I did not agree with. I thought he was bad, but I didn't think he was I thought he was more in the 50s, 40s. Like, he was not worse than Deshaun Watson. He was not worse than Will Levis. He was not worse than Bryce Young or Kirk Cousins. I still think he had some good throws at him. The touchdown pass to A.J. Brown floated right over Jair's head.
Yep.
And let AJ, have a nice run after the catch. The one pass I think might have been worse than the one that was not worse than the one that was in the end zone. That was bad. I mean, we had a field goal lined up on the next play, and he just throws it away. The one that he threw to Jair Alexander, where AJ Brown had to pretty much, play corner, that one was bad. But I still thought he made some plays on the ground, like the one first down where he just powered through to get it.
Yeah.
I still thought he made some throws. He was really good against the blitz. He made some good throws with guys coming in. He was really good on motion plays. So I disagree heavily with their grade on him. With their grade on Kobe Dean and Jalen Carter as well. I mean, they were not fond of how either of those two played. And I thought Nakobe Dean
I thought he had a pretty
was
good
really
game.
good. Yeah, I thought he was really good. I thought Jalen Carter was fine. The D line in general didn't really move me. Jordan Davis specifically, Bryce Huff specifically. I think that was the pass rush is probably my main takeaway. Again, the field was not great. I get that. So maybe that was a big factor. We'll see. We have a big test this week on Monday night. We're at home, and the Falcons' O-line is pretty solid. But like you said, they have a statue back there. We should be able to get a couple sacks, at least some pressure, force him to just throw the ball. Because in week one, when there was a little bit of pressure from Pittsburgh, TJ Watt was living in that backfield, and Kirk was just he was just throwing it. Yeah. He was just throwing it like to the ground. It didn't matter. So I think the D line or the lack thereof pressure was my main takeaway. Maybe the play of Quinyon Mitchell. I thought he was solid. The corners in general. I didn't hear Darius Slay's name once, which is a good thing. Perfect.
Yeah.
Quinyon Mitchell. I mean, there was one. I think he might have had a PI or a catch given up. Either way, the rookie in general, I thought played very solid. He's pretty much showed that he's ready to play from day one, which is tough for corners. And I don't know if Ringo didn't play that much. I'm trying to see the snap count. Let's get the snap count up. Also, the O-line, I thought Mekhi Becton was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought Cam Jerkins in general was pretty good. Obviously, the usual suspects, Lane Johnson, Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, all just rock solid. So I had to, have that foundation is awesome. I thought BG was good. I know I'm kind of giving you all of my takeaways, not my main takeaway.
No, you're good.
BG, 32 snaps. He was our second highest graded player. Zach Bond was everywhere. All over the field was 53. I couldn't believe it. I was like, damn, dude, who needs Devin White? Maybe we have a decent little linebacker rotation now. That would help a lot. Like maybe you could just have Devin White come on some blitz packages and just do some stuff like that. Zach Bond, I think he had 2 sacks. And I think his career in New Orleans had 3 or 2. So
11 solo tackles.
Crazy. And the game clincher, clinching sack on Malik Willis, who when the camera panned to him coming in, I was like, oh man, I did not know that was their backup quarterback. Yeah. So that's going to be unfortunate for them. So yeah, I thought all in all, I mean, there's a lot of bad, but there was definitely some good. And it's week one. There's a lot of weird things. Sam Darnold was probably the best quarterback all throughout the NFL in week one. So weird things are going to happen when the season just starts. It was just about getting the win. I hit a same game parlay. Nice. I had Jaden Reed and A.J. Brown over receiving yards. Easy work. Saquon Barkley to score. Eagles to win.
That right there is somebody we haven't really talked about yet is Saquon. That the difference making that having a guy like him, what he does to a defense and just having him back there as opposed to think about some of the guys. I mean, DeAndre Swift wasn't horrible, but he's DeAndre Swift. And then you have Miles Sanders and some of these names. I mean, Saquon easily clears them by millions of miles. Best running back we've had probably since Shady. Right? Yeah. That's what I was saying when we were watching the game. I actually got to go to Xfinity this past weekend and watch it. What a nightmare that place is. I mean, you couldn't even move on the inside. You couldn't go to the bathroom. You couldn't do anything in there. It was they let too many people in there. Which that's fine. You're not charging cover or whatever. But I mean, come on, let's help me out here a little bit. I can't even move. How about you made mention of some of these guys on defense. I think. Big concern people coming into the season was the fact that the defense was not going to be kind of the worst part of this team or the thing that might hold them back, and that was kind of the thing that held them up this game and really just they stayed strong the whole time. The defensive line, like you said, was not good. They didn't really get much pressure. Ball was coming out pretty relatively quick, so it wasn't. I'm not ready to, damn them and say that they're going to be screwed. But like you said, I mean, how many snaps did Bryce Huff play? Not a lot, right? I mean, it was something. 30. Yeah. So and Milton Williams, I like Milton Williams, but like you said though, like the Jordan Davises, like I don't think Jordan Davis was in on a tackle or did he? I don't think he did anything. Like he
didn't really do much. No, I was honestly more impressed with Milton Williams. and Moro Jomo, who only
Yeah.
played 14 snaps, but there was this one play, I think it was in the end zone. He had a pressure up the middle where Jordan Love just threw it out the end zone. I think they had to settle for 3. So yeah, Jalen Carter was getting double teamed a lot. So I won't hold that against him. I just thought our run defense in general, I don't want to blame anyone specifically. Our run defense in general was terrible. I think I just had a stat somewhere on my Twitter. Oh, here it is. We're dead last in the NFL in average yards before contact, 3.24 before contact. The Packers averaged about 8 yards per rush, 6.5 if you take away the end around to Jaden Reed. So it was still bad. I mean, we held Jacobs in check, and then we didn't. It kind of in the second half, he kind of was able to run freely. And so I thought, the D-line was really just struggling in general. I think it was Zach Berman said that Jalen Carter looked gassed in the second half, so it's not really good. No, it's not good at all. Him and Jordan Davis, the conditioning seems to still be an issue. We'll see. Yeah, maybe we should trade for Hassan Reddick,
I saw the guys on WIP talking about that today, how they should throw him a late round pick and give him some money to get him out there. I'm like, it's fun to talk about. There's just no way that's actually going to happen.
It's not happening. No. Josh Sweat, 41 snaps. I didn't really notice him much at all. I thought C.J. Gardner-Johnson played terribly.
So did I.
Whatever. Reed Blankenship was awesome.
Yeah.
Slay, Vaughn, Graham. Yeah, I mean, there wasn't too much. Cooper DeJean played, I think, like 6 snaps. So I didn't really notice much of him or what he did. But
I just saw him talking shit with Quinyon Mitchell in the end zone, which I love that Quinyon Mitchell lets everybody know every single time he makes a play or every time that somebody throws near him that shit ain't going to fly over here, bro. Like, you need to knock that shit off. I love Quinyon Mitchell. He gained a fan to me. That's all I needed to see. I think he is everything. It's just one game, so I'm not going to get too crazy. He's going to be the greatest ever. I'm not saying any of that, but I'm just saying the way he played, he's not going to be some bust or some bum that's going to get thrown all over all the time. And, we're not going to have to take him out to the glue factory like we are Avonte Maddox pretty soon, because Avonte Maddox is super cooked. He's mega cooked. It is so over for him. And I hope really that I hope we just walk away from him at the end of this season. And the good thing is you have Slay, you have Quinyon, and then you could add Isaiah Rodgers into that if he's healthy this week, ready to go. So it's the defense, the secondary, like we talked about. We have a nice little setup back there, and I think we have a pretty good defense overall. So, and I think the D-line's only going to grow throughout the season. They're going to get stronger. They're going to get in better shape, and they're somewhat healthy right now. And I think that was my big prediction, when I've been talking to anyone who's pretty much asked me, is at some point this season, some point in the deadline, hopefully somebody becomes available, some sort of pass rusher, that's unhappy or that's not going to get a contract, and we can go get him and add him to this, not Robert Quinn, somebody who has a little bit more mileage in the tank, and maybe they can make a difference here for this team because, the sky's the limit for the Eagles.
Also, what do you think about 30 snaps in the slot for Devontae Smith? A nice little wrinkle of the offense, putting him in the slot.
Love it.
Also, the motion worked really well.
Yes,
really efficient. That's I think the play AJ Brown scored on. He was in motion. They had a play with Will Shipley in the backfield, just show you a different look. You could definitely throw it to him out of the backfield.
Oh yeah.
Saquon with his little wheel route. I think that opened up with AJ Brown moving in motion. It opened up Saquon able to catch that pass in the end zone, which I thought was a beautiful throw and catch.
Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, in general, our highest graded players on offense: Lane Johnson, Devontae Smith, AJ Brown, Jordan Mailata, Dickerson, Becton, Juergens, all in the green. So, if you have your O-line just pretty much humming, and then your 2 receivers and your running back. Saquon did great as well. I think maybe, he got docked for some of the plays that weren't big plays, but I thought in general he followed his blocks. He let the play develop. He did a lot what he didn't do in New York, where he was kind of just, just rush.
Yeah.
Rush his rush, I guess, if you will, where he would just try to, make something happen before it develops.
Yep.
This time I thought he was following his blocks, letting it develop, and I thought Saquon was great. So, Who else? Let's just see some snap counts. Jahan Dotson played 32 snaps. Honestly, didn't even really know he was out there, but that's to be expected. Johnny Wilson played 10 snaps. Didn't really notice him. Grant Calcaterra 36. I thought he had a nice little catch on. I don't know if there was pressure. I think they sent pressure, and Jalen threw right where the pressure came from, which was to Grant Calcaterra. So in general, I didn't have as many worries with the offense as I thought I would, but Jalen definitely didn't play great. But again, I keep looking at his grade, and I think he just got.
Yeah, I think he's getting screwed a little bit there with that.
Yeah, a little bit. Same with Nakobe Dean. They charged that long passing play to him instead of C.J. Gardner-Johnson, which is kind of crazy. But
that just seemed like more of a blown coverage in general, not like his fault. Seemed like there was a miscommunication on some end. Yeah, C.J. Gardner-Johnson did not really pop at all here in this game. It didn't look good at all. I don't know. I don't want to. Again, it's one game. They were in Brazil. They were on a shitty field. I'm not really ready to cast any sort of long-term, blame or anything like that on any of these guys. It's just another guy, Nolan Smith. Just a lot of these rushers, the edge rushers especially, need to show something, make some sort of impact. It was really. We were getting no pressure on the quarterback whatsoever, pretty much for portions of this time. Sometimes they were, like Zach Bond had 2 sacks, but that was it. He was the only guy to actually get to the quarterback on somewhat, get somewhat of a, there was a couple hits. He only had 5 quarterback hits all game, but Ty,
they apparently had 17 total pressures, and I don't even know, so Bond had 4, Josh Sweat had 4. Carter at 3, Nolan Smith, Ajomo, and Graham at 2. I don't know what necessarily constitutes as a pressure, but only 5 quarterback hits, 2 sacks. So all in all, and only a couple of hurries. All in all, I didn't think the pass rush was that good, but it's a surprising number of pressures, which I thought was something I didn't even really see.
So Ty, we move on. Eagles play the Falcons on Monday night. I believe Nick Foles is being honored, who just retired this past offseason. I don't know. What is the line for this game? The Eagles are probably 3.5.
5.5, 6.5.
Oh, really? Yeah, 6.5 point favorites. Okay, wow, that's a lot of points, but I'm probably justified. The Eagles are the better team at home. I just think, again, Jalen Hurts, as bad as he didn't, he played and what he did or didn't do, I think those things are way more easily fixable, or he can rectify those things more than maybe the Falcons could. Because listen, as good as their O-line was, they were getting chewed up. That's T.J. Watt. I'm not going to be too hard on them, but again, you couldn't really get much going with Bijan Robinson, 18 carries, 68 yards last week. The passing game, a 155 from Kirk Cousins. He threw 2 picks. They just did not look good. And for week 1, and another thing, the Eagles, especially with Jalen Hurts, I think what hurts some of these guys is the fact that they don't play in the preseason. And I understand why they don't, but that's why you're going to get sloppy ass fucking football to start the season. That's just how it is. And I guess you have to accept it and be okay with it. But I'm looking forward to this. I don't think the Eagles, the upset alert or whatever people are saying, I don't really buy that shit. I think the Eagles are going to maybe not cover. I don't know if cover. That's a lot of points. But, there's a reason that line is the way it is, and they're minus 290 on the money line. I think the Eagles go in and take care of business. They clean up some of the mistakes that they made. And you made mention of Kellen Moore and the motion offense that he used. We were screaming for that all last regular season, and during the offseason, we wanted somebody who was going to move these guys around or do something that wasn't just line up and throw from the same fucking positions every single play. At least the offense had a little bit more creativity, and I love the way they were using Devontae Smith. Devontae Smith in college, I believe it was Sarkisian was the offensive coordinator when he won the Heisman. They were moving him around all over the place. They bubble screens and everything, and the guy was catching 11, 12 passes a game, but they were using him exactly the way you should because he's a fucking weapon. Just move him all over the field and make it impossible for somebody to really just hone down on one side of the field or a certain route or anything like that. If you look at the route trees in comparison to last year. That's what I saw somebody put that up on Twitter. I was like, wow. Like, they had Devontae Smith on the right side of the field every single play. Yeah. I don't think he caught a ball on the left side. It's like, what are we fucking doing here? It's in Madden you wouldn't even do that. So it's like for these guys to be professional coaches and not being able to figure out maybe we should do something different or maybe move these guys around a little bit is just mind-boggling. But I'm glad that we're on the right track here. I would say I'm not going to get too damn, this game opened up at 4. It's up to 6.5. So maybe that tells you something. All the Eagles fans are like, "Yo, the Birds, dude, they're gonna fucking smoke these Falcons." But I'm going Eagles, probably by a touchdown. So I think I'd probably take the points.
Yeah, I think so. So I think they should win by double figures, double digits. I don't really see much with the Falcons besides maybe the run game. Their defense is decent. Maybe it'll be a lower scoring game than week 1, but I think like 27-17 or 30-17, something like that. I think we should be fine.
Yeah, I agree. Anything else from week 1 that you really was shocking? One thing that was shocked me was how ass the Panthers are. I didn't expect them to just get dog walked like that week 1. I didn't think the Panthers are going to be Super Bowl champions, but I thought second year of Bryce Young and their new defense or the new coach who was the offensive coordinator for the Buccaneers. What was that guy's name? Dave something? Yeah. I can't say that guy's name. You listen to the Shoulder Strikes MMA podcast if you want to hear me struggle through some names. But I thought that they would be much more improved or at least better, and they were just not. They were getting, and the defense couldn't stop a nosebleed. I think your local high school team could have started running some points up on them on Sunday. It was a rough night.
Yeah, and then they lost their best player for the season, Derek Brown. So the hits just keep coming, right? It doesn't get much better or much worse, but I guess. Do
they at least have their pick this year? Because I know they didn't have it this past year.
They have it this year.
Thank God.
But they really fucked themselves.
Yeah.
In general, with that trade, the Bears. I thought Caleb Williams was. I mean, he was really bad, but they managed to come back and get a win. It's always good for a rookie to win in his debut. It doesn't really happen often. The last one was David Carr. I'm sorry, back in 2002 or something like that. So, I think the quarterback play overall around the league was just bad.
Yeah,
I mean, really, really bad. I mean, there's more guys that threw for under 200 than threw for 200. Joe Shiesty didn't play well. I mean, a lot of quarterbacks didn't really play
well.
I
gotta say, man, your boy, his wrist it's not. It looks like it's going to continue to be a problem, man. He did. I guess
so. Yeah.
He was flexing that thing out. He could barely pick up a water bottle. I saw on the sideline. I'm like, oh boy, this. Yeah, and they said when he injured that it's like something that you have like a 50 or 6. It was like some crazy percentage chance that this may not heal. Like you might just be fucked. And I'm like, oh my God, that's horrible.
Wild.
Yeah.
One of the best throws I think I've ever seen. Anthony Richardson,
dude,
slips kind of off his back foot with pressure in his face, just throws that fucking thing to the moon. I mean, it was one of the best throws ever. The throw that got the reason I kind of became an LSU fan was Jamarcus Russell made this insane throw back in 2005, crossbody. Like 70 yards on the fly, corner of the end zone. It actually wouldn't be a touchdown in today's game, thank God. That throw was crazy. This throw was right there with it. He's a different kind of player. Like he was only 9 of 19, but 3 total touchdowns, I think. Just an electric player for Shane Steichen and that offense. So it's gonna be interesting to see how he looks as long as he stays healthy. Tyreek Hill coming out here and putting up 7 catches, 130 and touchdown after getting arrested.
That's wild.
Crazy. I feel like getting arrested might be the best base for athletic performance. Scotty Scheffler, right?
Yeah, man.
So, Jameson Williams burst on the scene.
Yeah.
Isaiah Likely had a big game as I guess maybe the de facto.
What a game that was! That opening night game, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, I thought both primetime, or pretty much all the primetime games. I guess the Monday night game wasn't really.
Yeah, it was garbage.
The Aaron Rodgers and them boys didn't look so good, right? I think they had that one drive. Everyone's like, "Oh, here we go, baby! This offense looks good," and that was it for the rest of the game.
They looked horrible. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought a little bit more. I don't know. Is their offensive line that bad? I couldn't figure that they couldn't run the ball. They couldn't do anything.
The defense didn't look good. So I think that it's your usual suspects at the top of the NFC, at least for now. I mean, we'll see how the season goes. But Lions, Niners, Eagles, I think that's pretty much the top three you're going to see all season.
Sprinkle the Buccaneers in there on the back end, I would say.
Yeah, they looked really good. Baker Mayfield was slicing and dicing.
Cowboys look good.
Yeah, Deshaun Watson's, still doing his thing. I guess these more lawsuits are coming. Good. Get him out of here.
Cowboys defense was good too. And Mike Zimmer had the boys playing good, and even the Vikings. Yeah. I'll tell you what, man. I saw really people heckling Daniel Jones, burning his jersey in the parking lot. Love to see it from here in Philadelphia. Yeah. That's great. It's so embarrassing, but I would feel the same way if I was a Giants fan. I'm like, why in God's name are we doing this again? What are we doing? But so we'll move on. That is, week 2. I'm obviously looking forward to it. It is the best time of the year, really, to be a sports fan. Dude. It's just every night.
Great game on this tomorrow.
Tomorrow night, Bills Dolphins on Thursday night. And then you got a whole new slate on Sunday afternoon to just attack all day long.
I think Sunday night is Bears Texans too, so that should be pretty.
Bears Texans, and then you got the Eagles on Monday night by themselves. It's just what a time to be alive, ladies and gentlemen.
Only Monday night game of the year.
Yeah. I don't mind that. I really like. The Eagles don't play enough 1:00ers, I think, at home. I love when the Eagles play at 1:00 at home, and I can go down to the old city, have a couple of morning beers, watch the game at 1:00, and then I'm home by like 5:00, and I'm just I can nap and get myself ready for the Monday. But when they play Monday night, it's really a quick turnaround that Tuesday morning. It's like, oh boy, things are going to get tough here, man. But
the next 4 games are at 1. Only one's at home. It's at Saints, at Bucks, home against Browns, at Giants. We got the Bengals at 4:25. I might be there. I might be at that game in Cincinnati at the end of October. So just breaking news, I guess.
If you are in Cincinnati, go say hi to my friend Ty Capone. But
come say what's up.
Ty, let's move on to the baseball team here in the city, the Philadelphia Phillies, who have righted the ship, Ty. Last time we talked, things were not going well. The sky was falling. The Phillies were done. We were preparing for them to create one of the more epic collapses in Philly, in Philly sports, and just in the Phillies' recent memory. Things were not looking good, but they have kind of righted the ship a little bit here, Ty. I don't have their recent 10 games, but win, loss, win. Like they were on a heater there for a little bit compared to where they were, losing. It seemed like 3 out of 4 all the time and couldn't hit the ball. And there are still some serious concerns. You're not getting good starts from Ranger Suarez anymore. It seems like his arm has kind of just given out on him. There's a little bit of case of dead arm, and he just came back after a month. They gave him a rest to kind of try and bounce back, and he just hasn't. I will say again and again, I think it was a big mistake for Dombrowski not to go out and get another starter that you could have, in case something like this were to happen. If you're really going all in, per se, and trying to win the World Series, you need to be prepared in case things don't go right. You have plenty of guys, in for the lineup, who can come in. They're not the greatest players like a Cody Clemens, but they've come in and produced and performed. So
big walk off.
Yeah, big walk off the other night. I mean, they were getting hits from guys named Cal Stevenson and Buddy Kennedy last night.
Buddy Kennedy, shout out to Millville.
Shout out to Buddy Kennedy. You just with the pitching though, they're in a spot where every 5th day they're just giving a game up. They threw Seth Johnson on Sunday, and it was like, first of all, who the fuck is that guy? No, I mean he had a good little run in the minors, but he obviously showed you he's not ready. So and then you go through Tyler Phillips out there, poor Tyler Phillips, he's getting hit around too. They've kind of figured out his game. They have 4 starters and maybe now 3. With Christopher Sanchez has been solid all season. He's given you good starts. You can count on him. You can depend on him. Other than that, it's obviously, without saying Nolan Wheeler, those are going to be your 2 guys that you're going to depend on, like it has been. Maybe if you can get Suarez to kind of turn this around, then I would feel much better about this team in general. The lineup has kind of bounced back, but now they're a little banged up. Like they just had to scratch Schwarber tonight. Schwarber hurt his elbow, I believe, diving back into first base last night. So that's not a good time for that to happen because this guy has been on a tear of recent.
Yeah,
He's been on fire, and we could really. I mean, I think he just set the major league record for leadoff home runs in a season. I'm almost surprised, like lead off the game home runs. I'm almost surprised, which is insane. But listen, it's the Phils obviously are one of the best teams in the major leagues. That just goes without saying. And you feel like you're like being a crybaby if you start complaining about any of the stuff that goes wrong with them. You're like, dude, really, what are we complaining about? We have 87 wins. We might win 100 games. We might not. Probably not. Now that I look at it, it's 58, so they're not going to win 100 games. But they'll win right there at the upper 90s. It's just going to be depending on how things go in the playoffs. But those are just a few of my concerns. Even the bullpen has kind of been somewhat okay. I feel better about the bullpen than I did a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I think starting pitching is probably the only concern. Like, what if Nola has one of those games where he is giving up a long ball? Schwarber. I think Wheeler's is in general fine. I mean, there's games where he doesn't pitch well, but
his bad game is like giving up 3 runs. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So, I mean, you got to get one of those two lefties or both on track because, they are really tough on lefties with both of their changeups being very, very, very good pitches. But, yeah, I mean, Schwarber, 7 home runs in the last 15 games, 4 in his last 7, hitting 360 in his last 7 games. I think JT Realmuto, 340s hitting in his last 15 games. I think this is him, yeah. Bryce Harper, 485 in his last 7 games, 426 in his last 15 games. Not many home runs coming from Bryce Harper, I've noticed.
No.
Oddly enough. But, I mean, that's 26 this year, but when you look around at, some of the guys around the league that have a lot, it's a bit of a downish year for Bryce Harper.
There's been a little bit of discussion about him maybe being hurt though too. Like that's been the kind of the topic up here that he might have an elbow thing going on or something along those lines that's kind of holding him back. He's under a little bit of heat right now after not hustling out that ball. I believe it was 2 nights ago. The night I think Cody Clemens
see it.
Yeah, no, he was. Yeah, and Cole Hamels might come back just to put one in his ribs one more time. But yeah, no, and he knew he fucked up. I think I see people getting on him on my Twitter or like coming at me, and they're like, he's a disgrace. I'm like, dude, you need to Bryce Harper is still without question the best player on the team, and he's the most important part of us winning the World Series. He has been the most clutch, the most consistent player in these playoffs, and you're directing your anger in the wrong way. Listen, sometimes he doesn't hustle. I understand that. I'm not okay with it. We watched Chase Utley play here for years, and he was like, I think we got spoiled by that, seeing a guy. That's not the norm. A guy who just busts it on every single play. And, he obviously, when people talk about that, it's like, well, yeah, he hustled. It's like, but he also broke down. His body just gave out on him at a certain point, and I don't want that to happen to Bryce Harper. I don't want him having hamstring injuries for him trying to bust out a single, in the middle of September that's going to affect him come the playoffs. Yeah. Right now, I want them to win. He gets it. You can't be hot dogging a home run that bounces off the top of the wall. I still think he would have got gunned at second. I just think that we need to chill out a little bit, all right? Just chill out, No, why are you getting so upset? No point in getting all angry at Bryce Harper. I think that's my main thing. Don't direct your anger at the wrong people. Your boy Trey Turner, though, he's kind of turned it around too. He had 2 home runs last night. Yeah,
Alec Baum, he has not been hitting this last month or so.
Yeah, he's hurt right now.
I think maybe Ms. Dolan might be the cause of that.
That's a good point.
Start messing around with a beautiful woman. Listen, I don't blame him. All right, if that absolute smoke show comes to my DMs, I'm like, you know what? I might just retire from baseball mid-season. No, but for real, good for him with that. Hopefully, I mean, if he turns it around, that offense will really be humming because now you have pretty much what's Castellano. He hasn't really been doing much. I mean, he's a bum, so I'm not surprised.
Oh, come on.
At least you have. I mean, dude, Schwarber. It's so funny. Like. Boomers in general, they're like, oh, this guy can't lead off. Get this joker out of here. He's not fast. He can't lead off. And my dad's one of those. I'm like, no, you don't understand.
Bro,
he walks. He hits the ball 7 million feet. He's hitting 250 this year. He's not hitting 190 or 210. And I think it was last year. What did he hit? Like 192 or 200?
I think he barely got to 200 last year. Yeah.
If you give me 210, that's all. I'll take it. And now this year, recently. I don't know when it was. It was during that hot streak where he hit 17 home runs against the Dodgers that one game, I think.
Yeah.
He was hitting like 265. He was up to. I'm like, damn, bro. Like that's basically an MVP candidate. I mean, it's tough for him to win it this year with Ohtani just being insane. I mean, 50-50 in a season is fucking wild. And he's right there. So shout out to Ohtani. But Schwarber has been the unsung hero, I think, for this team. And especially of late, when he gets hot, dude, you cannot throw him anything remotely down and in or in that little sweet zone because he's going to send that bitch down the right field. I mean, he pulls the ball. He just has such a quick, beautiful swing. And the Dodgers have a prospect named I can't think of his name. That's tough.
That guy.
I'm thinking of Michael Bush, but that's the guy in the Cubs that we traded. Oh man, what's his name? He gets a lot of Kyle Schwarber.
I have heard about that guy. I don't know what his name is too, but yeah.
Dalton Rushing, thank you.
No problem.
So I would love to have a player like Kyle Schwarber. Now, again, can't have him in the field much. He can't really move out there. It's not his fault, all right? Don't put him out there.
No.
But I think he's kind of been the unsung hero. He keeps hitting. If you get Alec Bohm to come back and hit a little bit, man, that's a dangerous lineup right there. Obviously, it's not as deep as on paper per se as the Dodgers 1 through 9, but it doesn't matter. It could be arguably better or just as good, or at least right there with them. And the Dodgers right now have 5,000 million injuries, and I'm not using it as an excuse, but it's tough. It's definitely tough. You know, Gavin Stone was pitching well all year. Now his shoulder hurts, so that's cool. Tyler Glasnow still hasn't even started a rehab assignment. We got Yamamoto back. He looked great last night. Kershaw's big toe exploded on him. It just blew up, and then like he broke it or something. He's getting old. Random things happen. Walker Buehler's cooked. Bobby Miller's cooked. Also, Bobby Miller dates the sister of Valerie Loredo. I know you remember her.
Oh yeah. Now known as Lola Vice.
There you go. Shout out to Vice City. So, and Bobby Miller's cooked too. So I'm not. The Dodgers can win as many games as they want. They can have all the big stars and stats. I don't know. I just don't know about them. I mean, limping into the offseason or limping into the postseason. And, they have all these high expectations. So it would only be right for them to lose to whoever in 6 games, 5 games. I don't know. It would be nice to see a Phillies Dodgers NLCS. It would not be good for my mental health, but it would be good in general, I think, for baseball. It's the 2 best teams in the league. Maybe it might be the 2 best teams in all of baseball. I don't know about the Yankees. They're kind of back and forth. Their bullpen implodes all the time. So does ours, but the Guardians, it seems like they're a bit of home merchants. You look at the Phillies. Actually, the Phillies and Dodgers record on the road isn't great either. But maybe Baltimore, they might be too young. San Diego, Arizona, I don't know. I think Phillies Dodgers collision course is happening. We got to get revenge for Jonathan Broxton. We got to do it.
Yeah, that's a name I love hearing. I love when that guy gets brought up because that's just good memories. Good memories of that guy getting cooked. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We're winding down. We'll have a whole playoff breakdown the closer we get. Ty, we got to talk about some of the poor displays of college football that we've had to deal with these last few weeks. Ty,
you want to? How about the one I was at?
Let's start with the one you were at, and let's talk quickly. Let me just talk about what happened after the game, because Brian Kelly is one of the fakest human beings of all time. He couldn't even display real emotion. Like, he was probably angry, but just like, we are here again. We're here talking about the same thing again. Like, he's like, come on, man. No one believes this fucking bullshit.
Yeah. Also,
dude.
It's your fault.
Yeah, do something about it.
Your team isn't prepared. Also, he dropped a quote. He was like, Miller Moss is better than our quarterback. It's like, why are we taking shots at Garrett Nussmeier? He played absolutely perfectly. Not perfect. Yeah. I mean, he wasn't really asked to do much. Yeah, Miller Moss was great also. He's definitely a name to watch. I just, the team isn't prepared, and you're up here slamming the table, and you're like, I don't understand what's going on. It's like, what do you mean? Like, how this is your team. It's so funny. I was looking at some of his openers, like some of his numbers in season openers at Notre Dame, and he wasn't this bad. But for us, he's 0-3. So, back-to-back years, the 2 years against Florida State, there's so many penalties. We miss on a blocked extra point. Honestly, we could have won all three of these last three season openers, and instead we lost all of them. So, conversations are he's not going to be on the hot seat for quite a long time. That contract was abnormally large.
The heater.
And truly, I don't know, who do we go out and get? Who's the hot name? I don't know. I mean, maybe in a couple of years there's going to be somebody, but the guy from Kansas, I like Lance Leopold, but I'm not going to start looking at new head coaches. He has a really good opportunity here. So he's got probably one of the best recruiting classes, including the best recruit in the country, Bryce Underwood, for next year. So that's something to build off of. Also, 2026 and 2027. I know it's early. I know it also makes me feel old to say those numbers. Those high school classes look really good, especially in state. And he's got a really good staff around him. We have a really good coaching staff. So time for him to buckle in. I mean, dude, week 2 wasn't much better. I mean, it was at one point against Nichols State, Josh Nichols State. We're like 46.5 point favorites. The second half, it's like early in the second half. It's 24-21 LSU, 23-21.
Yeah.
So we're up 2 points on these guys. Colin Guggenheim. That's his name. Colin Guggenheim, the Nichols State running back, had 145 rushing yards, 2 tutties. Yeah, he ran all over us. So
that can't happen.
It absolutely cannot happen. Absolutely cannot. It's funny because USC didn't even really run on us. They just threw on us at will. So we have South Carolina next on the road at noon. He's got to win that game. He just has to win that game. South Carolina probably has the worst passing offense in the SEC, but they can run the ball. Rocket Sanders, Lenore Sellers. They have a true freshman. I believe his name is Dylan Edwards. I might have fucked that up, but I believe it's Dylan Edwards. Let me see if I can check his sack total, because I think, is it Dylan Williams? No, it's Dylan Stewart. Sorry.
There you go.
Dylan Stewart. Dylan Edwards is the backup running back from Colorado. There you go. Dylan Stewart, 6'6", 250. He's a freak from DC. I think he's still like 17. They got to worry about him. But, I mean, this year in general for LSU, I'm not expecting 10. Honestly, not even expecting 10 wins, but I'm not expecting a college football playoff berth. Just make some improvements from last year, because the roster this year is still kind of stinky. He's still trying to get some of that Ed Orgeron stink off this team. The depth is not good on this team. So
it's year 3 though, Ty. We got,
it's year 3. Something's got to give. But I think they've kind of said, 10 wins. He has to win 10 games. That has to happen. I mean, the Ole Miss game's coming up in a couple weeks, in about a month and 1 day. He's got to beat Ole Miss at home. Either beat Ole Miss at home, or you have to pretty much beat Bama at home and A&M on the road. Oklahoma at home at the very end of the year.
SEC is a nightmare, man.
It's tough. It's tough, especially when your team isn't as good as you thought, and you're like, fuck. All these wins are now possible else. I just don't want to be too critical, because coming into this year, I knew it was going to be more of a struggle than a lot of people thought. We lost 2 first-round receivers. We lost our quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner, and the depth on defense, there is none. I mean, we were trying to hit the transfer portal for defensive tackles, and they're like, well, we want $1 or $2 million in NIL money. We're like, well, dude, we're not giving you that. You're not even that good. So we had to, I guess, shop at Goodwill for our defensive tackles. Now one of them's out for the year. So I don't know. I really don't know what to think. I'm looking ahead to next year. Bryce Underwood. I don't know. It's early in the season. Talk to me next week after we beat South Carolina by 20 or lose by 10. I don't know.
And then you could be in the situation where you gave Riley Leonard, almost $2 million, and he can't even throw the forward pass. So that's
crazy.
One of the
I loved
6
him last year.
Yeah, I loved him too, and I loved him this year. And then now we're one of the 6 teams in all of college FBS college football who haven't thrown a fucking touchdown pass yet. I mean, 2 games we haven't thrown a touchdown pass yet. Our offense has been horrible the whole season. It's been horrible. But sorry. I've held a lot of this in. I don't really have a lot of people that I can discuss this with, during my week. Who really care about Notre Dame. And I know you don't necessarily care about it, but you're a college football fan, and you understand kind of what I'm going through. Marcus Freeman is a snake oil salesman, okay? I was starting to, this guy after the game, all right, if you didn't know yet, they lost to Northern Illinois, okay? Northern Illinois came into Newt Rockney's house, the house that Rockney built, and clapped our cheeks. They didn't necessarily clap them, but they slid it in. And they slid it in. They win 16-14. We basically give them a W. And then they have the nerve to be like, oh, well, the defense didn't do this. We scored 14 points, dude. Scored 14 points. Yeah. We gave all this money to a quarterback. We have 4 or 5 guys that we recruited sitting on the bench who we're not going to give a chance to because Riley Leonard's going to play again with a labrum injury on his left shoulder. So he's not going to be able to lower his shoulder, run the ball or anything. And now we're going to be shocked when this guy's having trouble throwing the ball later on in the game. He's going to be like, yeah, my shoulder hurts. That's bullshit, okay? Mike Denbrook, your boy.
LSU.
Denbrock, I believe is actually how you say his name. Who gives a shit is what I really want to say. But that guy, Jeremiah Love hurdles a guy, scores a touchdown. Awesome. It's like, wow, we have 2 elite running backs. We really do. Jadarian Price and Jeremiah Love are beasts. They run people, Price runs people over. He runs hard, he's fast. Jeremiah Love just flies. He's unreal. And after that touchdown tie, I believe it was in the third quarter. I think Jeremiah Love touched the ball one more time. Can you really explain that to me, or I don't even what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we throwing the ball all the time with a quarterback that we don't even really like? Why are we not giving a chance to these other guys when this guy has obviously just not played well so far this season? Whose fault is it? It's got to be somebody's fault. Is it Mike's fault? Is it Riley's fault? Whose fault is it, okay? And Freeman just kind of sits there, looking cool and saying, well, we got to be better. That's football. He was saying shit like that. If you people know anything about me, that drives me up a fucking wall. It's football. Yeah, it's football, buddy. You're gonna be sitting there fucking coaching, Toledo pretty soon if you keep this shit up. But I know they were already talking about him like, oh, he's gonna be the next coach of Ohio State. You guys sure about that? I'll take Ryan Day even after what he said about Lou Holtz, that piece of fucking garbage. How dare he talk anything about Lou Holtz? But listen, again,
double down even.
He did. I mean, come on. You're talking shit to a 90-year-old man. You still haven't won any natties. We're getting dog walked by.
State hasn't won shit since 2014.
Yep. And he was the coach there?
I believe that was Herb.
And who do I want Notre Dame to have as their next coach? That's right.
I hope it's not Herb.
I want Herb, dude. Herb has said, he's been on record saying multiple times, Notre Dame is his dream job. Man, I would love nothing more to have that scumbag coming out of the tunnel for us, dude, leading the boys, paying people. Now I can legally pay people and get shit done. Man, it would be something else to have Urban Meyer. He'd be fucking doing all sorts of shit at the local bars. We know how he was at the Chop House down there in in Ohio. Listen, I at the end of the day, I don't think Freeman. If I'm being serious, Freeman's not going to go anywhere. But if he loses another game, or if he say they finish the season 8-4, there's a real possibility he gets fired, or they have to start looking at another spot. Another guy who I would consider though, that I was looking at all sorts of coaches trying to figure out who would. The defensive coordinator for Georgia. I don't know if he would work at Notre Dame, but somewhere maybe in the SEC, kind of like Kirby Smart-esque, I think he would be. The guy's presided over 6 national championships. Yeah. He
was at Bama also. Yeah.
Yep. So
he probably knows what he's doing. I would say he probably can get the best out of people. Also, it doesn't get much easier this week. They go to Purdue, and that might seem like,
oh no, Purdue's coming here.
I thought it was in Purdue.
Is it? I'm pretty sure it's another home game.
It looks like it's at Ross-Ade Stadium.
Is it? Oh, boy. Okay, so that's an L. That's an L.
Not sure what. It's at Ross-Ade Stadium. It looks like it holds 25. Just 25. But they have Hudson Card as their quarterback, the Texas transfer. Pretty solid. And then Devin Mockabee, the running back, is also pretty solid. I'm trying to see who they have at receiver. I thought they had a nice little option at receiver. I don't know. So, Morissette, Devin Morissette. Denylon. His name is Denylon Morissette. So they go there, and that's not going to be an easy game either, man. Maybe after that you have Miami, Ohio, but then you got Louisville, then you got Stanford, go to Georgia Tech, go to Navy, Florida State, Virginia, Army, at USC. So I think you have a couple layups, but then You have a tough game mixed in pretty much every other week. They got to get it together for sure. The offense, I mean, 23 and 16, it's 23 and 14, 37 points in 2 games against A&M and Northern Illinois. It's not especially coming off that big win. The defense played really well against A&M. I mean, Connor Wegman looked awful. Jeremiah Love looked good. Riley Leonard, Jadarian Price had that 47-yard touchdown. Riley Leonard didn't do great, but, didn't throw picks.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's definitely got to figure the offense out for sure.
If I had a Riley Leonard jersey right now, I would use it. I would use it to wipe my keister with, dude. I
defecate all over it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm angry at him. I'm angry at him because I think after the game he acted like it was like no big deal, kind of like that. Oh well, that throw, bad eyes. What do you mean bad eyes, bro? You underthrew the ball by 30 yards. And you're supposed to put air on the ball. It's like he jammed on the X button to try to smash it in there and into triple coverage. Dude, like that was the easiest interception. If you were playing a guy in college football, you'd be like, oh, yeah, we're going the other way with this one. As soon as the ball left the guy's hand, you're like, oh no, where's he throwing that? All right, I'm gonna wrap it up there, but hopefully, and I still see people like, oh, they don't deserve to be in the playoff, if they go undefeated after this, they if they run the table, they don't deserve to get in. Like, bro, is this your guys' first year like watching college football? Like, come on, man. Like,
what does that even mean?
What are you fucking talking about? There's gonna be 12 teams that get into the playoff. If Notre Dame goes 11-1 and they have one blip on the radar, then that they deserve to get in. Ohio State got in the 4-teamer when they lost to Virginia Tech. So like, come on, it's I just hate the nonsense that like I saw some guy like on his podcast like that's what's wrong with the 12 team playoff. It's just like you should have deserved to win the championship. Well, obviously if they win in the playoffs, they deserve to win the fucking championship.
Yeah.
You moron.
Yeah.
You fucking moron. Yeah. So. There you go. I got that all out. I feel so much better now. I really feel relieved. But, there you go. Notre Dame, Purdue this weekend. Who's LSU got? South Carolina.
Ooh. On the road. 2 tough road games for our guys. So
that's also a Death Valley, isn't it? Or I don't know what they call it. What do they call that thing?
No, they call it something.
Cock Valley?
Like,
oh, my bad. That's not it.
It's probably a 2-name like Jones-Williams Stadium.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, wow, real original there. Let's see what it's actually called real quick. Right here. It's called Williams-Brice. There you go.
There you go.
You're playing at Ross Aid.
I'm sure that guy was a really good guy, too. But
shout out to William and Bryce.
Shout out to Steve Spurrier. They used to be the days when he was the coach of them. That was... And the infancy of me becoming a true blue college football fan. I mean, we were probably like 10 years old then or something. I don't even know. I don't remember what year that. I mean, I know he's at Florida. Everyone who's probably above our age is like, you guys are assholes. You have no idea what you're talking. It's like, I get it, buddy. But remember, I'm not that. Yeah, Florida, I wish I was old enough. I was fucking I didn't tune in. Sorry, bud. There you go, Ty. That is the hot take hot box.
Boys are back.
Starring the Matt McSweeney and the Ty Capone. We're going to be back tomorrow for the Shoulder Strikes MMA podcast brought to you by the Hot Take Hot Box. We're going to have a full UFC. Is it 306? 305? Which number?
I think it's 306.
306, right? Yeah, we're going to have a whole 306.
Presented by Riyadh Season.
Yeah, presented by Riyadh Season. UFC Noche. I mean, what the fuck? What's going on?
I don't know what the hashtag is.
The one thing that's been cracking me up, though, is that every time Dana White goes live, him just signing off with John Jones, pound for pound, greatest of all time. Check the stats. Yeah. Like, he's just arguing with people nonstop. People are like, stop riding Jones, dude.
Yeah, he's like, what do you mean riding? I'm not fucking riding. Look at the facts. And then he ends his Instagram live early. It's it's a lot of glazing, as the youth say.
God, yeah.
I don't know what's going on. It seems like there's something going on. Maybe there's about to be some impending bad news. I don't know, but we got the Sphere. We got Sean O'Malley. We got Marab. I know they're gonna illustrate the history of the Mexican heritage between a Georgian and an American. So
I'll be going to get drinks when that's going on.
Yeah.
But, I think it'll be cool.
Between the fights.
It probably will be cool. I am curious to see what they do, but I mean, not to sound like that typical hardo, but I'm there to watch the fights.
I mean, I don't know what they're going to do. So that's kind of
it. Better be cool the way they've been talking shit about it.
I want to see Diego Lopez, Brian Ortega as well. Brian Ortega just said something the other day, and it was he gives some of the weirdest sound bites and quotes because it seems like he's just stoned out of his mind all the time. Which hey, so am I. But I got Diego Lopez. I don't know how. I think he's going to knock him out.
Oh, tune in for more, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to have all the picks and everything. Connor's coming back in 2025, so lock it in,
or
ladies
6,
and gentlemen. But
27 maybe.
Yeah, and hopefully John Jones will come back. Sometime this year. I think that's the rumor.
Not fight Stipe.
Yeah, well, he's going to fight Stipe,
will.
and then he's going to retire, and then Aspinall's going to take over. But we'll save all that for tomorrow. We're going to get into it, and we're going to want to talk about it. But this has been the Hot Take Hot Box. My name is Matt McSweeney.
I'm Capone.
And as always, John Jones, pound for pound, greatest of all time. Check the stats.